I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. The Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum is a local gem that teaches kids about the fascinating field of science, which many times integrates the arts. In this instance, a local kid known worldwide for his skills with dominoes becomes the teacher as he shows off how he became a Guinness Book World Record holder.
Dominoes have fascinated Brady Dolan since he was 6 years old. He shares his creations with the world via his YouTube channel, BP Doles.
The very first thing that I remember as a domino artist is one time we were just all chilling in my family room. We had some dominoes there, so I decided to pull them out and build a little tower with them and knock it over. And I thought it was cool, so I just started getting more into it from then.
This is an event that Brady has been working on with the Hands-On Museum since April. He's brought in 6 other builders from North America. They are domino artists and chain reaction machine artists, and together they are building one chain reaction that will start with machines and end with 25,000 dominoes going down.
Brady and his domino army took over the Hands-On Museum as they worked tirelessly for 4 days to construct this temporary masterpiece.
Dominoes and machines definitely complement each other because they're both forms of kinetic art. So they're both in motion, they're both very satisfying when they fall, they're both meticulously placed. So there's a lot of connections and relations between the two, and I think they're both very interesting to watch.
For them, it's the satisfaction of building something that's beautiful and that works. For those of us watching, it is beautiful. There's all these color combinations, there's these really, really cool tricks that they've created out of household items, connects pieces. And there's also the fact that it's pretty much instant gratification because the whole setup will probably only take 10 minutes to go down. So you don't have to invest too much in it. It's pretty and it's fun and it's pretty awe-inspiring.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly with more news and information. Every Sunday, the Ann Arbor Artisan Market has talented artists and crafters selling their merchandise. For the last 8 seasons, one Sunday a year, the market is covered in pixie dust.
Fairy Day is a magical time when people gather to celebrate these mythological creatures.
They're a party here for fairies. It's Fairy Day.
It's a fun thing to think about, although historically fairies had more malevolent aspects to them. But these days we celebrate more of the benign and fun things associated with fairies and folklore.
Fairies are mysterious, and everyone seems to have their own opinions on these enchanted beings.
We can extrapolate from their doors that they're probably about this big rather than human size, unless, of course, they're able to change their size.
A fairy is with wings, and it have magic powers, and that make them wing go flying. They're cute, and they're magic, and they're cool.
Ann Arbor is striving for inclusivity, and you will notice aspects of our city parks are being designed with more people in mind. Learn about park accessibility in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hi, I'm Hillary Hansel, a landscape architect and park planner with the City of Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation Department. Today I'd like to talk to you about accessibility here in our Ann Arbor park system. There are a few things you may have noticed in our parks, such as benches that appear to have been installed off-center. This is actually an intentional design decision to accommodate users in wheelchairs sitting next to those on benches. There are also picnic tables with elongated extensions on one end, and this also is done to accommodate users in wheelchairs. We also have a unique feature here in Gallup Park, the new Universal Access Playground that you can see behind me. This playground was designed with input from the Center for Independent Living that provided design recommendations to accommodate children as well as caregivers of all abilities. Here in the Ann Arbor Park System, we're working hard to reduce barriers and improve accessibility, and we hope you will join us.
At some point in our lives, we all open a medical bill wide-eyed and astonished by the out-of-pocket sum you or a family member acquired from a medical necessity. Some of us can pay these bills while others will struggle to find the funds to cover these massive expenses. Now there's an organization here to help. Joining me is Jay O, Chair for the Great Humanity Healthcare Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Dana.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to the point where you were working with the Great Humanity Healthcare Foundation?
Sure. So I'm a certified financial planner professionally, and we've noticed, our firm has noticed, that very, very few people actually understand financial contracts, health insurance being a financial contract. And it's very, very confusing and complicated to many. And even if they're insured, there can be a financial burden if you have an out-of-pocket cost, a hospitalization, something unexpected. They don't understand the contract, then they realize there's a financial burden. And even when people have done everything they could, there can be circumstances beyond their control, and now they have the bill that results, which creates turmoil in the household. Mm-hmm. They have to change their plans. They avoid medical service. They avoid going to have exams, follow-up exams, etc., just because of the fear of the financial ramifications. So that's how the background starts. I had mentioned that I'm a financial planner. That does have to do with insurance. I've written a book about Medicare, for example, mm-hmm. and that common theme exists about the confusion. It does not matter education level, it doesn't matter what economic class they are, that confusion is widespread. And from there, the foundation.
Well, and I told you, even myself, I've been confused by the medical contract, sure, or the financial contract, sure, as you say. And you just, all of a sudden, you receive this bill, and you're like, whoa, that's way more than I was expecting to pay. And how often is it happening that people get these bills and they're just like, well, you know what, I'm not going to the doctor anymore, I'm done? Is that like a large, I mean?
It's enormous, and a lot of the reason that we know that this happens is, first, anecdotally, it's clear, right? Mm-hmm. You'll know somebody either firsthand, a friend of a friend, that they get hit by a medical bill that they can't afford to pay. Mm-hmm. But there are studies, surveys, by the think tanks, of which are very, very credible. Something like a third of persons avoid going to have tests, etc., medical service, when it may have been recommended. They just avoid it because of the uncertainty, the financial uncertainty, mm-hmm. the cost uncertainty. And that is a pretty scary number when you think about a third of the persons under 65 avoid having medical tests conducted just based off the fear.
Which in turn will likely make you get worse. Exactly.
Well, it won't. It certainly doesn't improve the situation. Yes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, the longer you're waiting, and then at some point you're probably just going to have to go, even if you didn't want to.
Right. And so you see this in the United Way, for example, very famous. They have said, a third of American households under 65 at risk for that type of thing, so that if they do go and have this test, that they get a large bill. And even if they are employed, if they have insurance, they're still at risk. Mm-hmm. So that's where, professionally, I devote a lot of time to say, okay, here's how financial contracts work, and here's, based on your resources, what is possible. But even then, what you can have is persons, well, they get the bill, they can't afford it. Now, that's what the purpose of the foundation is.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me a little bit more about the foundation and how it works, and maybe who's eligible for it?
Sure. So the foundation is new, and what it will do is it collects funds, and persons will be persons who require financial assistance against medical debt. They'll have to prove that they have health insurance.
You have to have health insurance.
You have to have health insurance. And that's an important component because we know that there are many programs that do provide financial assistance. There's suspicion, there is fraud, waste, abuse. These are three common words that the federal government tries to prevent because that is taxpayer dollar, for example. So to our donors, to our contributors, we can go and say, look, the beneficiaries here have put up for themselves the first line of defense. This is not, this is financial assistance. It is not pure welfare.
And health insurance to begin with is not cheap.
Correct. Right. So, and this can be from your employer provided, where the employer is partially providing. But still, like you know, the terms and conditions are complicated and can be expensive. And for persons who are making ends meet, a one-time shock can create substantial upheaval. So what we are going to do, what we are doing is collecting funds, and then we are going to means test the person, meaning applicant says, we can't afford this set of bills. We're going to ask, okay, can we see your financial information? And there will be some vetting in that sense to make sure that they're not using the source of the funds in any, disingenuous way.
Yeah.
Right. But from there, we will be able to contribute to them to ease the debt burden, the medical debt, so they can get on with their life.
Yeah.
Get on pursuing their children's education, their whatever activities that they would like to normally pursue. And that's really what it is to try to ease the disruption created by medical debt.
Yeah, I mean, on your website, you talk about how a lot of people that file for bankruptcy are filing for bankruptcy because of medical debt, and their family life does take a hit. You have to take a hit on groceries and things, family necessities that you need because you have to pay this large sum.
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to, from multiple independent sources, a third of the population is at risk. And unlike credit card debt or mortgage debt, medical debt is the #1 cause of household bankruptcy, and that has certainly been eased to some degree because of the Affordable Care Act, because the number of uninsured has declined.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, what you still have remaining is young family $10,000 deductible. Well, very few, and it does not depend on any differences that fragment our society, and there are many, and we can certainly see that. And that you asked about the foundation itself and why now is a very good time, meaning that I think one thing that we can all agree on is that we don't have a good consensus on government role in the healthcare system, on health insurance markets.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem, I'm not optimistic necessarily that we're going to find consensus anytime soon on the government's role. Even if we had agreement, then the question is, how are we going to pay for it? Because that is a legislated matter. You've got to vote for taxes and laws. Well, then you have persons who need to be elected on that idea.
Exactly.
So now you've got a number of different complications. Meanwhile, young family, $10,000 deductible, that continues on.
Yeah.
While we're trying to debate and watch Twitter and Facebook and the news for all these different
inputs. And you're not seeing the face of these people. I think that's what makes a big difference. If you saw the face of this family that's in this dire straits because of this medical debt, I think that it's different for you then. If it's just a number, 1 in 3, that's different. It's just a number to you.
Right.
So people can go on the website to apply if they need assistance.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we will contact them. They're going to have some communications with ourselves and provide, the evidence, which we'll be able to vet. And once we are satisfied, we will make direct payment to the healthcare provider.
Okay, so you don't really see the money; it just goes straight to your medical bill.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that is also helpful because many persons don't know, private people don't know, that you can actually speak to your healthcare provider in terms of, is this the full amount? Will you accept less as full payment? Mm-hmm. Right, and we'll be able to do that. And then in addition to that, it also allows that for our contributors, the knowledge that there's not a leakage. We're going to do everything we can do to push down the premium, the amount due.
Yeah.
The person's going to have insurance. So that gives extra comfort to our contributors as well.
Well, we're just about out of time, but why don't you tell people, you talk about your contributors, why don't you tell people why they should donate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in addition to the individual level, it's every business, and we have a number of business partners where they understand that every local business can be affected. Why? Because they can't go and buy a bicycle, a new bike, from the bike shop.
Yeah.
And you can't go and eat out at the local diner. Why? Because the persons have to sit at home because they're worried. They're worried about how they're going to pay their medical debt. And to that degree, we've got these great partnerships where the companies understood this and they're making contributions based, and so the consumers get theirs, meaning a discount, for example, using vouchers. And then the businesses themselves are therefore then contributing. And we thank them because they understand, they can see clearly and understand that their own businesses, suffer by this fear. Mm-hmm. And on our letters and things like that, Warren Buffett called it, the tapeworm of the U.S. economy, and that's really a very nice way of, seeing it, meaning that it eats away, it erodes,
yeah,
kind of silently out of view, but yet it's there.
All right, well, thank you for filling me in on the Great Humanity Healthcare Foundation.
Thank you so much for having me today.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/watchctn. Thanks for watching and tune in next time to FYI.